Testing, testing, 1, 2. Welcome to The Know on 99 The Beat. I am your host, Yair L, the Agreeable.
And I am your hostess, Navia, the Disagreeable.
And once again, welcome to The Know and also TKNN Live.
Okay, I want to start off by asking everybody, if you can hear my voice and you know what's going on, have you the ability to feel the love being extracted from this earth? Are you able to sense the apathetic nature, the lack of compassion? Are you able to detect that the world has changed in a very drastic way? Are you able to see how everything in this earth is designed to push something on you and you can feel that weight? Companies are only about making money. Religions are only about making money and profits. The television, radio, social media, propaganda, all about installing fear. Programming of the mind to think a certain way, to fit into a certain category. If you can feel these things, that people are becoming more and more selfish, self-absorbed, only concerned about what they need as opposed to loving somebody else. And each generation gets worse and worse and worse. There are many of you out there that grew up with a strict concept of hell. And I want to ask you, what does your mind focus on when it thinks of hell? Because to many that are on this earth right now, this is hell.
That's right.
To many people who are having to live in fear, deaths that are occurring to spouses and loved ones that are untimely, murder convictions, false accusations, false convictions, jail time, prison time, senseless murders and everything else. This is hell. And you wake up every day in your own little world where you feel safe. And meanwhile, everyone else is going through something. Do you take the time out to wonder what it's like to live in somebody else's shoes? Do you take the time out to see society for what it really is?
That's right.
Because I don't think many of us do. And I think the world has grown more and more apathetic. What do we mean by apathetic? We mean the lack of compassion, love, generosity, charity, benevolence. If you've ever pictured a world like that, you would know that if you closed your eyes and you pictured what your paradise would be, that you would actually feel a sense of calming coming over you. But if you opened up your eyes and you saw what is really going on, it would shock you to death.
That's right.
And who's to blame for this? Is it us? Is it the parenting? Is it the new generation? Who's to blame for the way our children are responding to us, the lack of respect for the elders, okay? The desensitization or desensitizing of basic human emotions. There was a video that went viral with Tyrese. Y'all remember that video? Tyrese was on live crying and fighting for the custody of his daughter. And we had a field day laughing at it. We had a field day remaking songs of them, going viral, celebrities laughing, teasing them, being framed of being effeminate, having the inability to express basic human emotions because he's a man. Okay? And even if we can say that we don't completely agree or think that the video was genuine, the fact was he still put it out there. Okay? And he put it out there in hoping to get a response. to let somebody else in on his world. We think celebrities don't suffer. We think that because we're looking at the glitz and the gold and the glamour and the red carpets and everything else, that they don't have lives, that they don't have things that they have to deal with,
They don't have feelings.
that they don't have feelings, that they don't have emotions. And if they put it out there, the first thing that we do is make it go viral and make songs about it and make memes about it and make parodies over it. Where is your compassion? Now, I can tell you as a city girl, one of the reasons that I moved to North Carolina was to get away from the city life, the hustle and bustle, the crime, all of the things that was going on in the neighborhood, and having to be forced growing up in that type of neighborhood and seeing the pimps and the hoes and the prostitutes and the gangbangers and stuff like that. You move to a place that you think is going to offer you some type of solitude. And North Carolina was the place that I chose because I had family that was already here, number one. Mm-hmm. And when I would come down and visit, there was a different vibe about it. I felt a little bit more safe. I felt a little bit more at peace. The community I live in now is kind of for old people to die. Pretty much. I mean, if you're a type of person that's very extroverted and you like to go out and, have fun and meet friends, and you're not going to like where we live. But if you're an introvert and you don't mind your own, the comfort of yourself or your spouse or your family oriented, and you just like peace and serenity, then you would love it. But that little dream that I had about North Carolina, it's gone. Because this is just as violent as every other place now. The news that you're not seeing are the things that we've been pulling up and looking at. Okay, and it all points to the same premise that I just started talking about, and it's a lack of apathy. Apathetic, and the lack of empathy for anyone else.
That's right.
But yourself.
That's right.
And Beloved's going to read some of the news stories that are very recent, that just happened in North Carolina. And we want to talk about them in the background and why we are thinking that we're having this issue now. Go ahead.
And then this is some, just to name a few. Even one we're going to start right here. It starts with social media. It says, a Facebook video leads to rape charges against 3 Fayetteville men. 3, okay? 3 Fayetteville men have been charged with raping a woman after she posted a video describing her attack on Facebook, authorities said. James Haywood III, 21 years old, of Lady Slipper Drive, Jason Tyquan Hammonds, 18, of Carbine Street, and Brandon McKenzie, 17, of Hardwick Lane, were each charged with first-degree forcible rape, robbery with dangerous weapons, first-degree kidnapping, and felony conspiracy. Hammonds and McKenzie were also charged with first-degree forcible sex offense, and Hammonds also faces a charge of possession of a firearm by a felon. The woman posted a Facebook video on Friday saying she had placed an online ad seeking companionship. A man contacted her on the 2nd of November. This was recent.
Yes.
Okay? And invited her to a home on Carbine Street where 3 men confronted her with guns, took all of her money, forced her to undress, and made her perform sex acts, according to her video. Cumberland County Sheriffs learned of the Facebook video through Fayetteville Police and investigated over the weekend and was able to arrest the 3 men on Sunday.
Now, we're looking at the pictures of these men, and I'm telling you, they look very young. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't give anyone over the age of, pull up that middle one right there. He looks like he's about 25.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, it's 21, 18, and 17. So 21, 18, and 17. Barely the age of majority.
Do you understand what's going on here? Now, these 3 young men have raped a person, put it on. I'm videotaping it. Okay, so number one, that already lets you know that we're dealing with a dwindling of basic intellect. Okay, we don't even have common enough sense to commit something and not share it with the world that we've done it, as if we're expecting some kind of way to not get caught.
Well, I think this was actually her saving grace, because she was the one that actually posted it. So, I mean, even in their idiocy, they weren't cognizant enough to realize that they were also being recorded, and knowing that what they were doing was wrong.
I don't know.
Maybe I didn't word that correct.
That they could not have known that they was being videotaped, because when you're holding up your phone, you clearly can see it.
That's true. That's true. Maybe I framed that incorrectly, but what I was trying to say is, now if you know you're doing something wrong and somebody's recording you, what mentality is telling you to just keep committing the crime? And
I'll tell you what, most rapes that occur has nothing to do with the sex at all. Rape is an act of violence, and it's about control.
That's right.
Okay? And you have to ask yourself, what goes on in the mind of a young man, okay, a young man that thinks this is okay, or the need to try to control or take from somebody else.
Right.
Okay, what was taken from them? Okay, what weren't they being taught? What happened to them? You know, the difference between a lot of young men and a lot of young women is, a lot of times when things happen to our male youth, they're quiet. So you won't know. You don't know a lot of the inner turmoils that go on. You don't understand the pressures of society or peer society with them. You know, they keep to themselves, and mothers that are reaching out to their sons and asking them questions and stuff, they always get the response that they're okay or they're good. I'm good.
I'm fine.
I'm good. Okay. But here you have 3 men that thought it was okay and probably normal to just go ahead and rape somebody and allow themselves being filmed and doing it. And this happened here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Was there anything in their minds, in their hearts, that when somebody might have been crying or saying stop or leave me alone, how do you not feel compassion?
Well, I think it also has to do with what you said earlier. You know, who's to blame here? And I would say that it's all of the above. It's the parents, it's the youth, it's society as a whole. It's what we see on television, what we're exposed to, what we listen to. All these are factors into which we become desensitized, and it's the desensitivity and the influence and the peer pressure that allows somebody to perform such a heinous act without any remorse or empathy or any type of guilt from doing it. You know, in their mind it becomes justified, or in their minds it could possibly be a played out scenario or a movie or a sociopathic thrill within their own selves, that, you know, this is something that they can get away with and no one's going to say anything, and which will only lead them to do more. But I think that's the beginning of it. I
gotcha. And before we read the second one, I want to make mention that we should be broadcasting it. Would you provide the link to the No News Network and YouTube for the people? You know, if y'all want to engage in us, post a link in here for them.
Okay. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick post right now. And Beloved's just going to kind of fill in on that as I type that in. But again, it just expounds upon what we talk about in regards to the desensitivity and what our youth are exposed to, and how the parents are interacting with the children, how the friends and the best friends and the girlfriends and boyfriends interact with one another in regards to this type of video. And I mean this type of scenario. The young lady said that she was looking for companionship. So what was she not getting in her life that she had to seek or put out an ad just to get companionship from somebody that's a complete stranger that she doesn't even know?
Well, I'll tell you that majority of the time when we have that in a young lady's life, it's because of a lack of a father figure. Okay? A lot of us, you know, I mean, it's so common now to talk to a young woman or a grown woman and be able to relate with the father not being around in the home. It's more common that way than it is to have somebody growing up with both parents now. That's right. And it's almost become, you know, synonymous of the dating world. You know, you go out and there actually are men that prey on this. You know, they look at it as a joke. Yeah. Okay, now I've seen it.
Crazy.
You know, they'll put stuff, little parodies and stuff like that on YouTube. They'll hint around in it in some of the shows that you watch that the easiest way to get laid is to find a woman with daddy issues. Okay, and I want y'all to think about that, especially, you know, us women who have those type of issues, that wasn't raised without a father figure to to kind of talk to you and tell you what to look for, to kind of be the example of you watching how he interacts with your mother, you know, to kind of shield and protect you. You know, a good father will always sit around and tell you, I mean, one of the things that my dad used to always say to me all the time is, you know, you don't need to have no boyfriends because they only about one thing. He didn't care who they were. You know, they could have been honor students. They could have been college bound. He did not care who they were. He said that, you know, about it. Oh, they sniffing around. You know, when you go into puberty, they're going to be sniffing around. You got to protect yourself. You got to do this and that. And him and my mom was very, very paranoid like that, you know, about me when I was in my early teens.
Yeah, my mother was the same way. She's like, oh, well, listen, you shouldn't have any girlfriend until you graduated college. I'm like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna have some companions and have some fun. But there was a seed that she was planting, saying that, you know, there are certain things that you don't need to get involved in until you are mentally able to handle any consequences that come with those particular choices, you know. And she was the same way. And, you know, she might have been like a helicopter mom or a tiger mom or
they call us helicopter parents,
right. You know, but she was like, all right, you know, who are these girls calling my house? You know, they don't need to be calling a specific time. You know, and in the Advent, when there was, you know, Yahoo Chat, you know, there was still Yahoo Chat.
I remember Yahoo Chat.
And I was, you know, I had, you know, girls with different area codes, you know, call and chat and talk to me and things like that. My mom let me know that it was a serious issue. But again, I was not cognizant of what could have happened because sometimes I would go to meet them. And luckily, they were local. You know, I had a presence of mind to kind of see what they looked like before I went first. And, you know, it was in a social area. But had it been something different, like what they do nowadays is sometimes they trap you and they rob you of all your stuff. And then you're left somewhere and you're in dire straits here because you now don't have the presence of mind to get to know the individual that you're even interacting with through the internet.
That reminds me of that story of that 17-year-old girl that broke out crying because when she had set a guy up that they met off of Craigslist or something like that. She was given 25 years to life, and she met some guy, and they were supposed to, you know, come and sell something, and I can't remember. We're going to pull it up, but anyway, she had some guys in the corner that was waiting to rob him, and the robbery went left. And they ended up killing the guy. And she got charged as an accessory to that fact because she was the one that orchestrated it. So don't think that your sons are at any less danger, you know, than what your daughters are. And right now it's been very high profile sex trafficking. Now that used to be a topic that we used to read about from the United States that was going on in other countries. You know, you would hear about, you know, the Mexican borders and stuff like that. And they would do all in the Middle Eastern areas. They would have all of this sex trafficking, but it's here now. It's home,
prevalent,
and
here.
Even in North Carolina, even in North Carolina, because an Asian lady just got charged with it. And she was holding a massage therapist. She had a massage building, and they were sex trafficking females out of there. And the police happened to go into this building where she was having, you know, this massage business.
Massage parlor.
And the only reason why they even decided to go through there is because some of the people in the neighborhood was complaining about the noise and the ruckuses out there. And they go in there and they find a young woman that's tied up and was getting ready to be sold. Okay, she was being held against her will. But okay, we'll get to that story later. I think Beloved has some more that we're going to discuss.
All right, here's the next one. Sorry, I'm trying to pull that up. Gotta love. I mean, here's another one. This was in one of the towns that we used to reside in. One killed, one charged with murder following Sanford shooting. Okay. A man has been charged with murder following a Wednesday shooting in Sanford. Officers with the Sanford Police Department responded to 600 McKeever Street.
Wow, that was close.
At 1:15 p.m. in connection with a reported shooting located at Martin Flowers. Excuse me. Let me correct myself. In connection with the reported shooting and located Martin Flowers, 26 years old, of Florida, with a single gunshot wound to the back. So apparently he must have been visiting somebody. But But it says Flowers was taken to Central Carolina Hospital and later transferred to UNC Chapel Hill Hospital, where he died as a result of his injuries. Jacory Rashad Edwards, 22 of 509 Midland Avenue, was charged with first-degree murder and robbery with a dangerous weapon. He was being held at Lee County Jail without bond and was scheduled to appear in court on Thursday.
I want to say two things about this story. Number one, we know where McKeever Street is because we used to live in Sanford, and it's literally across the railroad tracks from the downtown area of Sanford, North Carolina. Now, we call Sanford Sand Trap. Okay? Sanford, it has some nice places in there, okay? But a lot of the people that had wealth or that was retiring had started relocating and leaving out of there. And, you know, so it is ridden with, they have a lot of project areas out there. They have a lot of youth with absolutely nothing to do, okay? No type of buildings, no type of support. So we would ride around town and pretty much see teenage boys just sitting around random places like the gas stations just smoking. Okay, clueless, you know, all the time. Now, the crime there had gotten so bad, you know, that even the areas that we thought that was supposed to be historic downtown Sanford, they started breaking and entering and kicking in people's doors, robbing people and killing people. Okay. Somebody that was close to me at the time actually had a similar situation come in. The house on Sunset Street, which was down the street with a house that we lived in, a woman got her door kicked in and they were robbing people out there. The Lee County Correctional System, it's kind of designed that if they cannot catch all of the perpetrators that are doing all of the crimes, if one person get caught and the other ones don't, they literally pin it all on you.
That's
okay,
right.
So it's not a good place to live in, but at the same time, he's talking about a 22-year-old.
Correct. Yep.
22-year-old. Now, the solution of society has always been beneficial to one group or class of people, and that is just take them and lock them up. Take them, lock them up. Take them, lock them up. Throw them away. If they can't figure out what to do with themselves, then, you know, they're nothing but a menace to society. And I get that people have bad behavior. But if there's nothing in place to help correct these behaviors, there's nothing in place for the youth to participate in, there's nothing in place for the youth to do, then what do they say? The idle time is what?
The devil's workshop.
There you go. Okay, so these kids end up engaging in a whole bunch of mess. Reprobate thinking. You have loving hip hop, and you have a lot of these reality shows. You have this
Miami
degenerate
Inc., Chicago Inc. and a lot of the reality shows that are on VH1 and
World Star.
Especially World Star.
So you have all of these things that your teens are sitting around watching, you know, and their life has been kind of programmed around the turn up.
That's right.
Okay. Everybody wants to turn up. Everybody wants to turn up, you know. Now I can understand if you're doing things that you're supposed to do and you're a responsible adult and you want to go out and have a good time
right.
once in a while, then you go out and you can do that, you know, especially if you've paid your dues to be able to do that.
That's correct.
But to mothers out here that are raising these young children and they ain't doing good in school, they're not, you know, they're not being productive around the house, they're not setting any type of, being held to any type of standards, but their whole life is just revolving around turning up, then there's something wrong with this picture, and there's nothing in place to try to offset that behavior.
There's no teaching of consequences behind choices. And if I could go further, I mean, I think apathy, which is what we had first started off with, is probably the best commodity that, unfortunately, the U.S. government and some of these private interests use to put these people in jail. When you're apathetic to something and you show no remorse, you know, especially in court, they'll put you in jail. And guess what? You become a number. And if you are in a privately funded facility, then you get, incentives or grants or kickbacks to put more people in jail and to fill these facilities up. And with these people that have these public interests, then crime is the best thing that happened to them. And having apathy is the best tool to commit these crimes to put more people in jail. It's a slippery slope of sorts.
And now I'm going to tell you one of the harshest realities that parents deal with, okay, when we're talking about being apathetic, is the parents that really don't want to deal with their children. So they let them go out.
That's correct.
Okay, you can go out, do whatever you want, just get out of my face for a while. I used to get chastised by being a helicopter parent. Was told that, my son was going to rebel and this, that, and the third, and which he did, because I did not allow him to go out and do or engage in a lot of things that children his age was engaging in, because I knew what it was going to lead to.
That's right.
Okay. And children seeing this, sometimes they don't know how to process it because they're living in a generation where most parents have become best friends. So now when you are actually a parent, you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy because all of the friends, and the peers that they are hanging with, their parents are their friends. So guess who sucks? You do.
You do. The helicopter parent.
The real mother, the real father, the ones that is putting, corrections and restrictions and limitations on your children. Now you've got their friends saying, man, I hate to have your mom. Well, she all up in your business. Well, that's what I'm supposed to do. But at the same time, the parents that really don't want a parent, and I'm not going to blame everything on the parents because sometimes we have children only based off of how we were raised.
Yep.
So we don't know any better. Every time you have a child, it's a brand new learning experience. You have to learn the personality of your child. Some parents don't know how to be parents because their parents weren't parents to them, and they're doing the best that they can. And then you have others who had the child but really don't want the responsibility of the child, and they'd rather go out and focus on getting a man or having something, doing their own thing. And because they don't want to deal with the child, they let the child in the street. They let the children run amok, and they don't care. They don't check on them. They don't want to know where they are.
That's right.
As long as you're not in their face, then they're fine. And that's another portion of apathy.
Well, several years ago, this is while I was still, in Christianity and going to, midday Bible studies, there was a conversation piece came up where they talked about how some of these young ladies, would intentionally have children. And the question was asked, well, why do you want to have children? And the answer was, so the child can love me.
Wow.
And my thinking was, a child can't love you. A child doesn't know what love is if you yourself don't know how to receive it or how to give it.
Wow. That's sad. I saw that on a talk show of those young girls, 12 and 13 years old, saying that they wanted something on their own because they wanted something to love them unconditionally, and they was trying to have children.
But a child can't do that. Love, like everything else, is also a learned behavior. And it becomes instinct when you understand the concept of it. But if you don't know it yourself and you're expecting something to love you, it's not going to happen. You can get I'm not equating a child to an animal or a dog, but if you get a dog is very loyal. A dog is very trusting. A dog is dependent. But unless you are able to show and train and have the companionship with the dog, it's not going to know exactly what compassion and those virtues are. It's just going to depend on you for food and sustenance.
That's right. That's right. Now, I'm getting ready to read some of these comments that we have in here, okay? We have Sarah. Sarah says, people videotaping crazy things. That shows that they have a mental problem.
That's right.
And I agree with you with that, Sarah. It's a very... it's apathetic, and in some instances it's narcissistic as well, because the person is completely detached from their surroundings, you know, from any of the emotional effects that are actually going on. You've ever seen those videos where somebody's literally getting hurt, and instead of people helping them, they're sitting around taping it, you know, or something catastrophic's happening, and 3 women are jumping on somebody, and their heads being stomped in the ground, and everybody's got their phones out, and they're videotaping it and instigating it, and ooh and ah, world star. What is wrong with that? Now, if that person dies, you know what happens? Everybody will just flee the scene and go on about their business as if it never happened. And it's gotten to a point where, you know, this has become normal. We saw a video, oh shoot, it was months ago, maybe about 6 months ago, if not that, about that man, those group of teenage boys that was videotaping this man in Florida that was literally walked into a lake and was being eaten by an alligator. And it went viral. And they even reported it on the news because it was the saddest thing to actually watch. And you can hear the man crying for help. You can hear him crying for help. You can hear him, watch him going under in the water, coming back up. And you hear the guy, and it wasn't so much that we was expecting these kids to just jump in, you know, a lake that's infested with alligators, okay, to save them. I get it. Most black people don't know how to swim.
You would think they would call or see if there's something else that they could do. Throw a line out, a stick, or something, or disturb the water, but they just recorded and laughed. Recorded it and laughed. Now, are these the type of people that you really want in your circle? That you want around your children? No, not at all. Trina says, men go through things too. But wow, videotaping, not cool. That happens a lot in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. And it's starting to happen all over Raleigh and Durham as well. You want me to push this a little further?
Go ahead.
Here's kind of where apathy also runs in the black community. When you see an injustice and you record it. When you see a lot of these young men being brutally apprehended by police and you record it. When you just talk a good game but you don't actually do it. When you have a whole community that comes out and sees someone that just got shot or just got forcefully thrown to the ground and is unconscious, and you do nothing, say, oh, that's wrong. Why didn't you do something?
Well, I guess one would have to ask, what's the risk? It would just have to depend. You know, some people are bold enough to do something, and some people that are out there without a firearm or means of protection is only looking at it like, if I intervene, I'm getting shot. I'm getting killed. So
the question is, if you have, and I'm not condoning any type of repercussions that are unwarranted. Okay, let me put that disclaimer out there.
Please.
But if there's an injustice happening, okay, whether it is of the elected officials or not, okay, what is keeping the group of people that are witnessing it from stopping it even further?
Fear.
Has to be. It has to be, because you are many, they are few. Several people can stop and restrain these two parties from injuring each other even further, no matter what the situation is, but you do nothing.
See? Yeah. And we're fearful. We're very fearful. Interesting enough, we're not fearful with each other.
But we're fearful for... and then that goes back to the conditioning.
We're not fearful with each other. I mean, we'll take one another out, but geez. Okay, Wanda says, that's sad when things like this happen to men and women, because you can say no to a guy half the time. A woman don't want to do it. They still push the issue. So a woman do it, then that's rape. And Pam says, I agree with you. A lot of people love people with daddy issues. Oh, yeah. One of the most easiest ways to make yourself a target is to cling on to somebody that is appearing to identify with you and not having that father role, and then using that to manipulate you by constantly trying to be everything or portraying themselves as being everything that you would ever need in life. Okay. This is why a lot of women sometimes end up gravitating to older men as well, way out of their age range, dealing with men 10, 20 years older than them. There's still a need that, there's a hole, there's a void there, and they're seeking this solace from this man, to fill that void. So he becomes everything. He becomes, husband, he becomes provider, he becomes father, he becomes, it's like
God.
Regressing all over again and becoming a child all over again and 100% dependent, on this particular person. Now, meanwhile, on that particular person, and don't listen, it does go both ways.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Okay, it does go both ways, because there are women who are a lot older than some of these men out here and can do the same thing when they have grown up without a mother and become a mother figure for them. But it becomes psychologically damaging when the man is already able to identify that this is a need. So now they can put their hands on it, grab it, and hold it, and they're literally controlling every aspect of the way you see life.
That's right.
They're molding you, and they're making you into something that's ideal for him. Okay? And in the meantime, that woman or that young girl never really gets to understand or know who she is. She never gets to grow into her own. She never gets to become a woman. Now, is that love? Or can that be viewed as apathetic as well?
The manipulation of the situation?
Yes.
It depends. It's relative, because you could have a man that might have started saying, oh man, no, I can actually get that. I can get her. Oh, she's got daddy issues. All right, so let me go ahead and present myself in this form of fashion and say I can do this and do that. But then you start to develop an attachment, and then you really start to have feelings for the situations that she's been in. Say this is something that really rocked her soul, and you're the type of man that initially kind of just wanted to get busy and use the situation, but then you do have a heart.
Okay.
And then you do fall in love. Then yes, love can get involved. But if you're heartless and your intent is one in which you wish to have full control with no attachments whatsoever, but no. It kind of goes both ways. It depends on the individual.
If you've ever heard in a relationship with an abusive husband and a battered woman, some of the things that you would notice when you hear it, hear an argument or something like that, is the man saying, well, where you going to go? Who's going to want you? Ain't nobody going to take care of you like me. Ain't nobody going to be good enough for you but me. Ain't nobody going to love you like I do. You have to pay attention to these type of words, especially when you're in a relationship, okay? If you're in a relationship and that relationship is based on that type of manipulation where your self-esteem is actually gone, and that person is that controlling that they feel like you'll never do any better but them, then that relationship is all about them, okay? And it really has nothing to do with you. That relationship is based on his ability to control you as opposed to love you.
That's right.
Okay, and when you start hearing words like that, you need to be running. You need to be running.
Opposite direction. Same thing for the young men too, that kind of fall prey to being used or having somebody that kind of having a lady or a woman that lords over you for means of using you for what you have and using your virtue. It goes both ways for young men, because a lot of young men aren't saying anything. A lot of young men think, okay, hey, I got an older woman. Yeah, that's a grab. That's me, because I'm a man. I got maturity on me, when that's not really it. There's just that one thing that you could probably do and do well, but you offer nothing else. And that's what's being used to keep you in check.
Okay, pay attention. Now, you have any more stories?
Oh, yes. There's plenty more.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
This
again.
is you.
Okay. This is the state of North Carolina. North Carolina teacher charged with having a relationship with a high school student. Interesting. An investigation is underway after a Concord teacher was charged with having a relationship with a high school student. Catherine Riddenhauer A teacher in Coxmill High School is accused of that inappropriate relationship with a 17-year-old student. Police said that the 17-year-old male is old enough to consent, but Catherine Rittenhauer was criminally charged because he's a student and she's in a position of authority. Interesting. It's a little disturbing just thinking that the teacher should have been a little more professional, said the parent, Joy Bruce. School leaders said Rittenhauer was hired in August 2016 as a family and customer service teacher. According to the school's website, she moved to the district with her husband and also became a JV cheerleading coach. However, the school's officials say that she resigned on Tuesday. Yeah, I assume that was the appropriate action to take. She probably shouldn't be at that school if she's going to be doing these things, Bruce said. Rittenhauer is now facing 2 counts of indecent liberties with a student. Parents are worried about the learning environment at the school. The former teacher, Rittenhauer, gave a written promise to appear in court.
Blurred lines. Blurred lines. You can't even send your children to school anymore. Okay? Because there are predators at the school. And this one is a female on a male. You know, in their own defense now, these males, you know, these males and females look a whole lot different than when we was in high school.
Very true.
I'll tell you that. Jesus Christ. We look like little girls, you know. I had them training bras and stuff like that when I was in high school. But these Jesus.
But then it's also used to manipulate them. Hey, you said you don't look like you're 17. You look like a grown man. And it plays to their ego. And they're easily manipulated because their minds don't match their bodies.
That's right. That's right.
If I could go further, you know, listen, if the gender roles were switched, that person would be in jail.
Yep.
Jail. For this type of indiscretion.
They would be pleading statutory rape and,
correct,
you know, all of that other stuff, and he would be viewed as a predator. The laws do seem to become a little bit biased when it comes down to stuff like that, but the issue that we're really having is that we're sending our children off to an institution to get some type of education, and they're losing their virginities. They're coming back pregnant. They're becoming attached to teachers, the same people that are supposed to be helping them transition into adulthood is already making them adults. And the question now you have to ask is, where was mom? And why isn't she stomping a mud hole in her tail?
Or the dad. Where's the dad saying that this is unbelievable? But hold on. This also goes back to the blame of the parents too, because again, a man might say, "Listen, you know, I have this problem. You know, this teacher is making me uncomfortable, and she's touching me in certain ways that I don't think a woman should be touching me as a young man in school." And all you get is, "Oh man, you stop being a punk, man. That's an older woman. Go ahead, get that, man. Go ahead, get that. You shouldn't be complaining about that." So now they're messed up psychologically too.
Yeah, and not to mention his peers. You know, that's an issue. And how many men are actually going to go home to their fathers and say that?
It depends on how they were raised.
Going to go home to their fathers and say, you know, I'm feeling inappropriate. You know, my hot teacher is touching on me during a time in a man's life where his hormones is running amok.
Yep.
Okay, so these things probably don't get home until it's too late or until one of the parents gets suspicious. And then if you have an older woman, a more experienced woman, you know, messing with a young teenage boy, and she's telling him, you know, you can't tell anybody because this love is forbidden, but how can something that is so true be wrong? And that little kid is like, you're right.
Loving you is wrong. I don't want to be right.
right.
Now that's what he's thinking, and then all of a sudden he turns on his parents. You don't love me. You don't even know. She loves me.
There you go.
She loves me. You guys don't care at all. I'm going to take my backpack and go over to her house.
And she'll let him stay. Becky will let him stay.
Yeah.
You will lose your son.
So long as he does exactly what she wants him to. But the instant and the day that he wises up and realizes how he's been treated poorly is the day that she turns on him.
Nobody sits back. The disturbing part about this is nobody, and when we're dealing with the principle of apathy in the society, nobody seems to sit around and think about their actions and the result of their actions.
Correct.
And how it could possibly affect somebody else outside of their own primal instincts or their own primal wants. You know, this is what we mean by this narcissistic, apathetic society that we are living in, and everybody's just acting like this is normal. Well, I don't feel like it's normal. I don't even feel like I'm from here. I mean, I sit back and I'm thinking, what in the heck is going on? Because this is not normal to me. Okay, there was a story that happened in March, and I'm just now getting wind to it, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it was about that 18-year-old kid that Fuentes boy, who decapitated his mother, cut off her head, and then called the cops, told the cops what he did, and was walking up the street with her head in his hand.
Wow.
Okay? Are you pulling it up?
Yep.
Okay, he's going to read the story, but I want you to think of how monstrous this act is. Okay? And I am thoroughly convinced that there are some people who are walking around on this earth that are actually just shells. And what I mean by shells, I mean completely and totally soulless. Void of any human emotion, void of anything. You know, that you can commit such crimes and feel nothing. And when you're committing these crimes, you're not even aware that this is wrong. And it's a normal act for you to be drenched in somebody else's blood. Especially somebody that has raised you and you don't care. Are they even human? Go ahead, beloved.
Wow. Okay, check this out. Okay. Murder charge. Let me close this advertisement, sorry. Murder charge dropped in Zebulon case. Okay. Lewisburg, North Carolina. Authorities have dismissed a murder charge against a Franklin County teen accused of beheading his mother in March, saying he isn't mentally competent to stand trial.
Oh, wow.
Oliver Mauricio Funes Machada is charged with first-degree murder in the March 6th death of his mother, 35-year-old Yesenia Funes Machada. In a statement released Wednesday, District Attorney Michael D. Waters said after reviewing a report prepared by the mental health professionals, it was determined that Machada does not have the mental capacity to proceed with the case. Specifically, could he appreciate the charges? How could you appreciate charges? Sorry. Appreciate the charges against him and participate in his defense, and mental health professionals there determined that he could not at this time, Waters said. Machada will be committed to the regional hospital at Butner for mental health treatment. Should the defendant's capacity proceed to be restored, he will be returned to the custody of Franklin County Sheriff Ken Winstead, and the District Attorney's Office will reinstate the charges against Machada, as the statement read.
So he's mentally incapable of standing trial.
Well, there's more.
Okay.
Interesting. There's more. He told the dispatcher that he stabbed his mother because he was mad at her. Okay. Authorities said he also cut off her head with what appeared to be a large butcher knife, and had walked out of the home holding her head in one hand and a knife in the other as Franklin County deputies arrived at the home. Because he was mad.
That's right.
Now, I'm no scientist, but with a butcher knife, trying to decapitate a head with a butcher knife
takes effort.
Takes a heck of a lot of effort. Okay? Now, when you try to carve meat up and things like that, when you're making your meals, you have to use a cleaver to cut through bone. This man used a butcher knife.
So he was sawing through it.
He had to saw, pry, tear, and turn just for it to come. That had to have been a very gruesome and agonizing death because he was mad.
Mad.
At what? But
probably because he didn't get something that he wanted, or she said no, or didn't. You know, that this is what I mean. When we're talking about this generation, you're not supposed to say no. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to deprive them, you know, of the things that they want. You know, and these are soulless type of beings. They look like you. They look like me, but what's in the inside?
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. See, Marshada is 18. His mother's 35, which means that Marshada was born while she was 17 years old.
Children raising children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In some other countries, that's not too far-fetched now. You know, 17, 18, this, that, and the third. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it still goes back to, are you mentally mature enough to handle the responsibility of raising another child?
That's right.
You know, but in other societies, I will say this, in a lot of, excuse me for a second, in a lot of societies where they're more community oriented, you will have a whole family helping in raising that. You know, the mom might still be staying with the grandmother along with her husband, and you have aunts and stuff like that. So there's a lot of help there, whereas in the black community, a lot of us don't have that help. You know, sometimes you have the parents that say, I'm not ready to be a grandparent. You know, so if you go out here and you get somebody pregnant and you have a child and you're on your own, you're going to take care of them because, you know, I got to hit the club and I'm young and I'm not going to, I've already raised you and I'm not getting ready to raise another. So, I mean, these are the type of parenting conditions that are unique.
Okay. You want to keep it going?
Sure.
All right. Because we can go on with all these articles.
And what area was that again? I'm sorry. That happened in
Lewisburg.
In Lewisburg, which is right outside of Raleigh.
Mm-hmm. It says, "Yep, Zebulon. It's the Zebulon case. Okay, just outside of Raleigh." Okay, let's see, that one was already read. Here's another one. Fayetteville man charged in fatal drive-by shooting. Fatal. Okay. A Fayetteville man was arrested Wednesday in a September drive-by shooting that left a 20-year-old woman dead, police said. Earl Clarence Avant III, 28 of the 1400 block of Deer Trail Drive, is charged with first-degree murder, discharging a weapon into an occupied property, causing seriously bodily injury. Discharging a weapon into an... I'm sorry. Why this repeats for some strange reason. I guess the journalist was in a bit of a rush. All right. Anyways.
Or he stutters.
Yep.
Stutter writing. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
He's being held without bond, interestingly enough, in Cumberland County Jail. Jasmine Monique Street was sitting in a car near the 900 block of Kennesaw Drive on September 5th when someone fired several shots into the car. She died at Cape Fear Medical Center. Police said the shooting remains under investigation. Anyone with information about the shooting is asked to call Detective J. Littlehorn with Fayetteville Police Department at the prescribed number on the article. Now, I have to read that back to you again. It says, anyone with information about the shooting death is asked to call Detective J. Littlehorn. So no one knows the actual intent behind the actual murder. 28 and 20.
And Nicole says she lived in Fayetteville and didn't even know all of this was going on because this is not the stuff that they don't talk about. They're going to allow us to kill each other, but it's not going to make the nightly news all the time either. So that's why this is our job, to help put this stuff out here so you can be aware of how things are going. And I'm gonna tell you, I think drive-bys are cowardice.
They are.
I think a lot of people get hurt. I think there's a lot of innocent bystanders involved. I think this is a way to be confrontational and non-confrontation at the same time. If you can't stand and face your enemy and square up with your enemy to the point where you're just going to drive by slow and shoot up a whole block and hoping that one of those bullets it actually hits your target, I find you a coward.
Very cowardly, because first of all, if there's anything that's going on, or especially if it's an alt between two men or two women, I don't condone violence. But if respect has to be earned or something has to be hashed out with the hands, then hash it out with the hands rather than guns. Because guess what? It takes courage to stand up for yourself, to defend your reputation, or to enact harm on somebody else's body with your own hands. You see, bullets don't have emotions.
Nope.
Okay? When you pull the trigger, there's no emotion behind pulling a trigger. Okay? Unless you are more cognizant of what's going to happen, or you've already premeditated what is going to take place. But then you have to even become cold when you do it. But when you strike somebody with your own hand, you receive their energy. There's an exchange of energy. Okay? There is a certain responsibility that now falls upon you, or a certain aura that falls upon you when you hit somebody and you're like, dag, I did that. It changes you somehow to say, all right, let's
cool out. Right.
But when you shoot somebody, you don't see if they went down. You don't see if they died. Nope, you just shoot and move on.
I can't remember where I got this quote from, or where I can remember this quote from. And it was either, a movie that I saw or something that I read. But I remember some hero was talking to another person and he said, you never really know a man unless you fight him.
That was from The Matrix. The Matrix Reloaded. When Seraph was fighting Neo before he could go see the Oracle. And he said, I'm sorry. He was like, for what? For this. And then that's when they started fighting and engaging one another, because, again, it's the exchange of information and figuring out what the motive is between the two.
Okay.
Yep.
So, that part has left society as well, because we don't know how to take L's anymore. Nobody knows how to take an L anymore, and I remember that being a very powerful message in that movie, Friday and Boys in the Hood.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they were constantly trying to tell this message that, when you had issues as men, you're supposed to handle it as men. I lost a relative to this type of violence because when I was growing up in North Philly, I had a cousin who had an enemy down the street named Peanut. And Peanut and him was, they used to beef all the time, and they got into a street brawl, and my cousin knocked him out, like completely knocked him unconscious, and he flew, a couple of yards, down the street, and it became humiliating. And my cousin at the time was high, he was on PCP, so his strength some kind of way became abnormal. Well, he humiliated this guy, and once they took him off to the hospital and stuff like that, when he got out, he wanted revenge about the situation, and they ended up finding my cousin beaten to death with a baseball bat and thrown in the river just because the guy Peanut couldn't handle getting his ass whooped. Okay. Yep. And so we're having a lot of this now. These young boys, the mentality is not really masculine yet. Mature enough yet to be able to handle a defeat It's a lot more emotional and a lot more dealing with what people are going to say about them, or what, somebody's laughing at them, or being ridiculed. And the ego has become way more fragile than what it used to do.
That's correct.
The way it used to be. So now, if something happens where they're engaging, the loser want to take it to the next level. I have to have get back. I have got to be on top right now. So this is one of those situations where our men have got to do better jobs with these young men on the street.
Agreed.
Okay, and strong women, don't think you can't get involved because you're a woman. That's not it. You have to be a mother and a female role for them as well. I talk to men and I talk to women and I talk to them the same way.
Yep, likewise.
Okay, the same way. So this world star junk that's going on has caused a lot of people not even to want to engage in that fight, because you have a kid that might not think he can win, and being called out into a fight, and everybody's got their cameras around, and he thinks he's going to be humiliated on social media. He'd rather kill you.
Yep. And then also, furthermore, with the acknowledgement of apathy, you have men putting hands on women, women putting hands on men, and neither one of them caring.
No,
it's because normal. First of all, the double standard that a man should not hit a woman, it falls on the men. Okay, it's like, okay, what do I do? She's beating the crap out of me, and then now you're like, okay, nope, forget it. I'm not gonna be humiliated. Boom. Okay. Then on the same hand, when you're growing up in this modern day society, like, oh well, I could put my hands on a man. He ain't gonna do nothing. Boom. And then you just beat the crap out of a man, thinking he ain't gonna do nothing, but then he retaliates. So then a double standard comes in. So now they're fighting each other because neither one of them should be putting their hands on one another, but they are.
And then they teach you that, come on, didn't we learn this in elementary school? Like, one of the first things that you was ever taught was don't hit.
Don't hit people.
Don't bite.
Keep your hands to yourself.
This is a thing that you learn when you are so young. Stop biting. Don't hit. Keep your hands to yourself. What happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Because some of those kids that are being taught that are watching violence in their own home. Or they're being overly disciplined. So the only thing that they're learning is how to correct somebody else's behavior
the way they were
through being hit or beaten.
Correct.
So these kids learn how to fight. Now I'm understanding this principle, because I grew up in it. You know what I mean? So fighting was easy. Fighting was easy for me. Because that's how your mind, is pretty much operating. I can't control the situation. I can't get you to do what I need you to do. I don't like what you're saying or what you're doing. I don't like the way that you look. I don't like the way that you're acting. I don't like how you're treating me. I can't get you to stop doing this. So because you don't have the ability to reason with the other person, or the person's not receiving what it is that you're trying to put out, you think that the only way to get them or to make them understand you is by hitting or starting a fight with them, and then get upset if you get knocked out. Now, there's some strong chicks out there. I'm gonna tell you, there's some strong, manly women that can fight.
Testosterone.
And I mean, not only fight, but have that can actually hurt a man if she fights him. So what do you tell a man to do in that situation?
Okay.
Restrain.
Here's my answer.
Here we go.
Hit back. I'm sorry. In this situation, if there is somebody that can inflict bodily harm upon you to a point where you can die, then you have to go into defense mode and neutralize the individual to a point where they cannot inflict bodily harm on you. Sorry. The premise is keep your hands to yourself. But if someone continues to pound on you, you have to engage. Sorry, there's no other way to do it. I mean, other men can say, oh man, he's a, forgive my language, oh man, he's a pussy, he's a bitch for doing that. No, this man is defending himself from a person who can kill him. Why would you want to take fatal blows? Do you know how painful a liver punch is? If you are hit here, right underneath the chest, right here, the liver punch, if you are hit right there, okay, it causes excruciating pain, shortness of breath, and it incapacitates you. So now, if you hit with a liver punch from somebody that's abnormally strong, you're now on the ground. Guess what happens? You're now getting ground pounded from somebody who may or may not be female, okay?
We don't know anymore.
Who has abnormal strength, who means to inflict harm upon you. Now, because you've taken the passive role, you're dead. Or you're possibly hospitalized and traumatized for a while because you did not fight back. That is the unfortunate conundrum that a lot of us are faced with. Okay? Now, let me reemphasize this. Keep your hands to yourself. But if somebody is trying to take your life, neutralize them and stop. Show them what control is. Okay?
That's interesting. I asked one of the guys that works for me. He's one of the delivery guys. I asked him the same question, a while ago, because he was telling me this story about him and his ex-girlfriend, and his ex-girlfriend had came out the house. I guess she had accused him of cheating or something like that, and she was beating the brakes off of him. I mean, he said that he had black eyes and all of that stuff, and all he did was cover himself. He had balled up, and I had said, wow. I said, you didn't think to grab her or anything like that? And he said, God forbid I ever do anything to a woman. And he said he protected himself, whereas she could not, I guess hurt him in any way, but he said that he was just never going to do it. So you got some that are at the expense of their life, they're just not going to do it.
And it is with this notion and this premise that a lot of women take advantage of that.
Well, he did leave. I made sure he left that relationship.
I'm glad that happened, but
you don't do that.
But it is this premise that is being taught to us men, that we are to be careless about our own selves and be punching bags for other people. Man, did you hit her back? No, but I actively neutralized her so that everything that she was giving me, I absorbed correctly, so that all the blows were now absorbed upon me.
Just put her in a chokehold. You don't get stand. I don't believe in nobody getting stand there and punched on.
Me neither.
I don't believe in that either. Okay, now Jackie says, I guess she was talking about the hitting and stuff like that, because she wrote in here, that's true unless they, they're hard-headed kids. Most kids in this new generation is hard-headed. Yeah. I don't know.
Sadly, yeah.
Why, I have no idea. These kids are on a totally different level. I mean, I was a hard-headed kid. I'm not going to say that I wasn't a hard-headed kid. I got a picture of me, on Facebook, touching my aunt's keyboard, knowing doggone well they done told me like 20 times not to touch it.
Told me not to
and the expression on my face, and I was about 4 years old, the expression on my face is literally like, they told me not to touch it, so I'm touching it. So, I mean, I was a hard-headed kid. My discipline came mainly from my grandmother. My father could not hit me, and I understood that. And I took advantage of that because my dad thought that I, was the cutest little thing, when I was a kid. So he never could find himself hitting me, or spanking me or any of that. It was more or less the thing, I'm just going to take something that you really, really enjoy and take it away from you. And that didn't help. I mean, that just made worse because I would throw myself on my back and kick and scream and roll around. I was one of those tantrum kids. And not only was I a tantrum kid, I would literally turn red, with rage. And I had rage when I was angry. But as an adult, I now know why I had it. I understand why I was an angry kid. I understand why I was fighting all the time. I understand these things. So, now I can honestly say that I look back on some of the things that I went through in my youth, and I can tell when I felt like I was being loved and protected and when I felt like I had to love and protect myself. Mm-hmm. Okay. And as an adult now, I live with a lot of empathy. I can't sit back and see people get hurt. I'm not heartless. It is my desire for everybody to prosper. It is my desire for everybody to be in healthy and loving relationships and, to mend broken hearts and,
Correct.
And start to figure out where the roots of our problem is. It's not my job to sit around and point fingers at people. Everybody's got a story. It's what it is. But when you got this type of level of crime and people that are doing things that is Charles Manson-like,
mm-hmm.
Right. And it's happening so repetitively that it's almost normal, and it's to the point now where we're watching TV, we'll watch something like that on the news and we'll go, wow,
that's terrible.
And then switch off the show.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's going, what's wrong? Something is wrong. We don't know if is it the food? Is it the hormones in the food? Is it the vaccinations? Mm-hmm. Is it the programming? What is wrong? Because it's definitely something wrong.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's all of the above. But we also have to look at what we now value as a family structure and what they do now. 9 times out of 10, when a family has dinner, most of them are watching TV.
Yeah.
A couple of decades ago, when it was time for the family to eat, TV was off, everybody was sitting at the table, and they talked about their day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now the interaction has become separated even in the home, just like in your neighborhood. Neighborhoods are supposed to be close-knit. Neighborhoods used to know the children on the street, used to know the names of the neighbors all around. But now they're just separate families, and then the families within these houses are now separate in separate rooms with TVs and phones and everything. Just like the commercial said, there's a 9-hour interaction each day with social media and other electronics. And it's these electronics in which we get our programming, we get our news, we get our information, and it creates that desensitivity and that apathy that we have towards things that goes on around us. Just like, even on Facebook, there was something that was being circulated around of a man that was being stung by bees. Bees, hundreds of bees. And like, oh no, what's wrong? Oh, somebody do something. And they're still recording. Man, that's really sad. This man is writhing in agony, being stung by a horde of bees. I mean, God forbid that should ever happen where I see that. I know you're supposed to use smoke to get rid of bees, but, smother something, find something to at least help or call to at least take the lessen the pain.
I would have to be the one to call because I have no idea how to stop that.
There has to be, indeed, there has to be
Smoke,
something.
where do you get that from? I can light a few cigarettes.
Find a car, something, light something, set something on fire,
okay,
and then put it off, or wave them off. Something can be done to alleviate the agony that somebody might be going through at the time.
And why do you? Who wants to record somebody hurting?
I don't know. I can't just.
Who does that? Why do you want to see somebody in pain?
Makes no sense.
I don't get it.
It makes no sense. Like I remember a few years back when our son was in high school, a couple of his friends were fighting, and he was just sitting there watching it. Somebody was recording. I had to go over there and stop it and say, "What are you guys doing? Why? What are you fighting over?"
Nothing.
I said, if somebody stole something from you, then he can replace those goods. I said, if somebody devalues your worth or your respect, fine. I understand if you fight, but it shouldn't be here. It should be somewhere privately where you guys duke it out. I said douche. I can't believe that, boy. Duke it out between one another.
It's your passion.
You know, you have to duke it out between one another, and then there's a mutual agreement, okay? But when you do it in public and people see it, it becomes corrupted, and people record it.
And they just want to make a spectacle out of you.
Precisely.
They just want to make a spectacle out of you.
And people who make spectacles out of you are not your friends.
And I want to go back to what you were talking about as far as the dinners and stuff like that. Children, I'm not going to say children. Well, I don't know how old, I don't know how old kids are now that is getting smartphones and stuff like that, because they weren't that prevalent, when my son was growing up, I guess they're getting them younger now, but I thought that you gave them to them as teenagers, maybe around 16.
Yeah.
But I think they're getting them a lot younger now.
6, 7, you'll find 4 or 5 year olds with smartphones.
Okay.
I mean, my youngest son has a smartphone now, and he'll almost be 10 years old.
So that type of stuff starts happening very, very early. And, we would go to family dinners. We would go out to eat and be engaging in conversation, and the kids like this. Mm-hmm. Just like this. You got to tell them, put the phone up.
Correct.
We're eating. It's almost as if, that's reality. And what we're doing here in the physical is non-existent. Mm-hmm. People actually believe that the friends that they have on Facebook are their actual friends.
Unbelievable.
Okay, and they would rather sit and engage and watch what everybody's doing, who's commenting on their page, who's liking them, and stuff like that, than engage with real people. Real people that actually love you. So that's their reality. And unless you're saying, put the doggone phone down, they can sit there and stare at it all day.
And not interact with anyone.
And then the more access to it, Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. Am I missing something?
Snapchat.
Okay.
Twitter. Did you say Twitter?
I said Twitter. It's one that began with a P. Pinterest.
Pinterest. Yeah.
And see, the only ones I'm really familiar with is LinkedIn, unfortunately, and Facebook. Because most of the time, I'm on LinkedIn because I'm trying to, I deal in the business on there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Facebook, I'm signed up with because this is how I was able to keep track of my family. Right. Because we're all spread out everywhere. We're in Florida and we're in New York and we're still in Philly, so when I want to keep up with what my family's doing or let them know that I'm doing okay, then, I get on Facebook, and LinkedIn is when I'm trying to promote something.
Correct.
But I'm not one of those that are tied to my phone every day. I'm not tied to social media every day. At any given moment, I might not be on there for days. And then I might go back on there, look and see what's doing. And guess what? If everybody's doing the same mess, I might not be on there for days again. Mm-hmm. So to me, life is more prevalent. And this here, these social media sites, this is not helping us become more empathetic to one another, because we're detached from one another. And we're communicating through text and emojis as opposed to actual emotions.
And you'd be surprised how many arguments get started from a comment that meant to be funny, whimsical, comical. Might have been cynical, or the emphasis was wrong and it was misunderstood. You see, what's missing is there's no inference in text messages. So why not just pick up the phone and talk to somebody?
I don't know.
Yep. So that's what's kind of missing nowadays. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back to you and start our next smaller segment on apathy. And this next song we're going to pick up for you for your listening pleasure.
Oh, they're going to block it again.
Well, it looks like something's going on with our live feed anyway, so I'll go ahead and check that out. But according to YouTube standards, as long as I reference the song in our live feed, we cannot get blocked, or we should not be blocked for the not freedom of information, but fair use, I believe. So We're gonna go old school, keep it on the reggae tip with Ragamuffin. If I Was a Rich Girl, going back in the day, back in the day. Okay. So once again,
you gotta do your throat like this.
This is the No News Network coming at you live. We will be right back.
All right.
I grew up with that, and I think that's where I got a lot of my rhythm and a lot of my athleticism from a lot of the times where we would go in and do some of the risky acrobatics. Me and my crew, when I was at Delaware State University, we would go in and survey the room and get down and have a good old time. So, again, that's just a bit of nostalgia there. So, reggae will always be one of our favorite genres to listen to.
What is that?
What is that? All right.
Me take a rice on peace.
Hold on, star. Hold on 1 sec. Hold on. TK in live.
There you go.
Okay, fresh microphone. Girl, we just play the DJ radio show. We just play it well.
We have another news story for you.
Fresh Mash Up live on YouTube. All right, and NC. All right, getting back to the topic of the hour, we're also going to hit up just one more particular feed, if I can find it. Let's see here. We read these articles. Here's another one, and this one looks even more disturbing. This was posted on Monday.
Okay? Monday.
This was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it all goes downhill from here, folks. I hope you're buckled up. All right. A Durham man was charged Monday with sexually assaulting a 68-year-old disabled woman. Michael Brooks Jr., 44, of 323 Chestnut Street, is charged with felony assault on a handicapped person, first-degree forcible rape, first-degree kidnapping, assault by strangulation, and misdemeanor larceny. He was arrested in arrested in Raleigh, and was being held in Wake County Jail under a $1.5 million bond. According to arrest warrants, Brooks choked the woman on September 11th until she lost consciousness and blood dripped from her eyes. Oh, jeez. Wow. He then raped her and stole her underwear, warrants state. Brooks is a registered sex offender with a criminal history dating back to the mid-1990s with convictions for assaulting a female, sexual battery, and breaking and entering, among others, according to the State Department of Public Records. So now,
I'll interject here while you think of it.
that is.
This is one of the reasons. Brutal. This is one of the reasons why we know the prison system don't work. Okay, precisely. Here we have a person with a history of sexual assault, do their time, come back out, repeat the same offense over and over again, because the system is never designed to help anybody do anything. Okay, it's just a way to put you away because you're a pain or a thorn in society's side. Okay, but the real issues of mental illness or whatever it is that is going on never ever gets addressed. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that I believe should be taught early, you have to pay a lot of money to learn in college. Okay, first of all, your children aren't being educated. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that now. Your children that are in school and in high school aren't really learning anything. They're memorizing stuff that they're supposed to be memorizing, but they're not learning basic coping skills that they need. Things like critical thinking, active listening, logic and reasoning, consequences. There's another one that I think is really, really important.
Home economics.
Conflict resolution.
Yes.
These things like that should be taught in elementary going all the way up. Okay, because this is part of maturing. This is part of transitioning from youth to adulthood. But they save those types of curriculums for college. Okay, and the curriculums now are so dumbed down that by the time they're trying to transition into college, our youth are finding themselves struggling, even passing the SAT test and stuff like that, because they don't know anything.
That's correct.
I'm gonna tell you, I watch a lot of YouTube videos. What these teenagers, jumping up and fighting their teachers and stuff like that. And I don't think you could give me a high enough salary to keep me from choking the life out of one of them kids.
Nope, not at all.
Now this man, has this long criminal history. Okay, raping, sexual assault. They're taking him, they're locking him up, they're putting him away in prison, they're taking his freedoms, but
no rehabilitation.
No rehabilitation. Like nothing ever comes out of these things. Okay, but the state makes a lot of money off of locking these people up. But when they come out, the mentality has not changed.
Nope.
It hasn't done anything. And this is a registered sex offender, and some of them are living next door to you.
That's correct. It's a very shocking thing to actually see when you are able to find the correct sex offenders registry. You will be surprised of how many people you would find in your neighborhood, and these people are supposed to identify themselves as registered sex offenders.
But it's humiliating. So
it is. So you will rarely see it, and even that system is broken. Now you have some that actually are sex offenders, and some that just feel they need to piss on the federal highway. They get caught, and then now they're registered sex offenders.
That's true.
That there is an unfortunate loophole, because again, it is indecent exposure and it is a sex offense, but
I don't see how that's a sex offense
compared to those, because again, if your junk is exposed and somebody sees it, it's that whole psychological whatever. But that is where that's another problem with the penal system or the judicial system, in which some of these crimes that should not be deemed as such a grievous offense are put all into one category. And then once again, they're all used for commercial benefit for the state and federal government.
And the scariest part of that is they're being locked up and put in the same institution as people who are actually doing it. Could you imagine the type of hell or fear that they may be going through? Even being in that system for urinating, public urination. We have got to do a lot better, when it comes down to rehabilitation, when it comes down to diagnosing. And again, I believe that this really starts very young, that these things are needed very, very young. Not when you're already in your 18s and 19s and 20s, because the biggest influence over a child's life and molding who they're going to become is from the ages of 0 to 7.
That's correct.
That's when their personality develops, and that's where, everything that is being exposed to them starts to sit in, and it's difficult redirecting that behavior pattern after that age.
And see, even that's a right. With regards to the family, that's a rite of passage. Every 7 years, each child has to go through a rite of passage. What have they learned? What have they developed? What if they've been able to acquire through those particular stages? And those rites of passage don't stop until the day we die.
That's right.
Because what I found is, and this came from a brother that, Brother Wandell, who will be coming on the show.
Yes, we will have him on there.
Talked about this, and he said, the worth of an individual or the worth of a man should not just be based on his actions solely, but also upon his children. If his children are not successful, or if his children are not, exemplifying the positive virtues of the rites of passage, you're not a man, or you're not even to be considered an elder until your children are right.
That's right. That's right. Okay? That's right.
And a lot of this value is not taught in this demographic nowadays. Very few teach that.
That's right.
And that's something that I believe you and I are trying to really master as well. That, we can't even be considered elders if our children are not in line or not successful.
That's
but
right.
then it goes back to the apathy. It goes back to, kids raising kids. It goes back to, mom and them or Pookie and them want to be in the club getting turned up while the children's with grandmama,
who don't even want to be a grandma right now. They don't want to be a grandma right now.
It is a sad day and age when you read something in the papers where a 35-year-old woman or a 35-year-old man is a grandfather.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Your penile system is broken. I would love to and here's the sad part. There are people out here that understand that this is broken. And there are people out here that really, really, have a heart to reach these type of ministries, to do it away with altogether. I was even talking to a lawyer last week. I was just on the phone talking to a lawyer, asking certain questions and stuff like that. And do you know that most lawyers admit that nobody should go to prison?
I'm not surprised.
They know what it's designed to do, and they know that it's not helping anybody develop anyway. But once again, the people who have the ability to make the change are not going to change it. They're not going to change it.
It's a broken system. There was this one article.
It's financially lucrative.
Right. There was this one article that also said that the penal system was meant to affect certain demographics. Okay, where you talk what it's like that rule where a crime of having so many ounces of cocaine, you get less of a sentence when you have the same amount, but it's a crack rock.
Yep,
and but you get more time. Okay, and then when that person is in jail, you're trying to bond them out, and in order to bond them out, you have to try to sell your things, sell your goods, sell your cars. Get loans in order to get this bond, which is whatever the 10% or whatever the ratio is. So now you're in debt. Okay. Now that you're in debt from the system, you have bonded this individual out that might not even get a justified sentence.
That's right.
So now you're in system of debt. You're struggling. So now you have to become apathetic in the sense, well, now you have to try to make this money back, pay back all these people, pay back these loans, pay back these loan officers, the bail bondsmen, so on and so
Lawyers,
forth. So now you're disconnected again because of a broken penal system.
Private, in the private-owned penal system.
Correct.
Well, coke's been around for years, but it's a rich man's drug. They ain't never going to jail for that. I mean, Hollywood, all that stuff.
Crack will give you, they'll give you, what, 10, 15 years?
I have no idea. I just know that hurt people, and broken people do the same thing, break people. And at some point, we've got to take responsibility of our own. At some point, we've got to figure out, what we need to do as a people and a society, that since we can see clearly what the issue is, how do we correct it? Because when you take power from a people, then you pretty much control everything that's going on. And all we can do is sit back and complain because not enough of us have the ability to take action. So I feel really, really sorry, I think that crime was completely and totally heinous and unnecessary. And he, of course he needs, justice needs to be, justice needs to happen for the victim.
Correct.
But if it's the same justice that has been perpetuated throughout his life and it hasn't helped this far, then at some point somebody should be thinking, we need to be doing something else.
Correct.
Okay, we're just going to throw them away. We're just going to throw them away.
I mean, there has to be judicial punishment and also corrective measures. Okay, so that this is never done ever again. Okay.
This new generation, reacts before thinking. Okay, and you see this all over. People have now become emotionally driven as opposed to logically thinking, So this is a generation of reaction. You piss me off, I'm reacting. You do something to my child, I'm reacting. I don't, you say something I don't like, I'm reacting. And then we'll deal with the consequences later. But right now, I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to react. And then later on, now you got to deal with retrospect.
Correct.
Dag, why did I do that?
I shouldn't have done that. Oh man, I'm sorry. You can't apologize to somebody who's dead.
That's
or
correct.
Somebody who you might have incited their bodily harm, or incited them losing their jobs, or incited them losing their reputation. A lot of these things that are reactionary also play into a corrupt penal system as well. Yeah,
because you're surviving out here in the street, and then you got to survive in prison. And there's different rules in prison. Okay? Go ahead, beloved. I see you got something else pulled up.
Next one. This one was posted on the 11th of November.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Wanted. Death is the only thing that will stop Goldsboro father from finding his daughter's killer. Goldsboro, North Carolina. Michelle Wynn was killed while walking to school in Goldsboro, but 22 years later, no one has been arrested for a crime. So this is an old article that still has yet to be solved. Eddie Wynn lived a father's worst nightmare. His daughter Michelle was abducted while walking to Goldsboro High School, August 29th, 1995. She was daddy's little girl. Michelle was petite, she was delicate, and she was kind, Wynn said. The teenager's body was found along the wood line of Retha Street in Goldsboro. She had been strangled and left for dead in a field. I believe the circumstance that she was found in, it took at least two people. One probably did it, and the other was a witness to it. I want that one to call, Wynn said. Wynn posted flyers around the city after his daughter's death, hoping that witness or anyone else with information would come forward and help solve the case. This little girl, she was 17 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her, and somebody saw fit to take it from her, and that was something that we will never, ever give up on, said Major Tim Bell with the Goldsboro Police Department. I'll push and pull until the right person makes the call, or whatever it takes, Wynn said. Death is the only thing that is going to stop me.
Somebody knows what happened to that child, just like somebody knows what happened to Kaninka Jenkins, and somebody knows what happened to a lot of these missing teens that are coming up or being found like that. Somebody's doing these things, and the scary part about it is we don't know if there's any remorse behind it at all. We don't know if these people who are just killing these people has any type of feelings. I don't even know how to express that. I know that there are killers. I know that there's people out there that feed off a certain type of energy, and that energy is fear.
Right.
Okay. My advice, and I have always talked to, people and younger people, that are growing up and stuff like that, is if something like that, was to happen, stay calm and start thinking. Okay? Because these predators, they feed and thrive off of fear. It's a certain type of rush and energy that you get in causing pain, causing fear, and even sex. Hate to put it out there like that, but a lot of sex offenders, they draw from that type of energy as well. So we have to, protect our community. Now, nobody saw this. And chances are, this is what I've heard, when it came down to FBI files and stuff like that I tend to watch a lot of it because, I want to see if I can solve the case. They can't solve the case, so I want to see if I can solve it. A lot of these crimes are typically committed by somebody that knows them. Right. Or somebody that knows the family, or somebody that knows the routine, so... is it sad that you have to be, cautious of everybody that's around you? It is sad, but it's necessary now. Because everybody, like I said, this is an apathetic society, and nobody really cares like that.
The mentality
so
is different.
you have to protect your own, even sometimes from your own family members.
That is correct.
I would be scared to death, you know. In my day and age growing up, we were latchkey kids. You know, I was a latchkey kid.
Me too.
And my mom worked, you know, and my dad traveled in the band. And, you know, I walked to school because I went to the public school, you know, the elementary school. But all of the kids in our neighborhood did. And we would all come out the house together. And we would walk 2 blocks up to school. And we all had keys. And we would walk home, and we were told, you go in your house and you lock that door, and you do not leave until your mom came home from work.
That's right.
Okay? And we lived like that. But I'd be scared to death in this day and age to do that. You know, if I had enough money, I'd have to have a nanny. I'd have to have somebody there, you know, if I'm not there myself. But I could not allow this to happen because, you know, it's just not the same.
That's correct. It's a sad day and age, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The mentality changes and shifts because of what we had mentioned previously. That's what we're exposed to. That's what we eat. That's what we see. That's what we experience physically, mentally, you know, even sexually, you know, spiritually. All those elements of what we are exposed to in this day and age has changed the course of how we deal with things.
Teach your children, if they've found themselves in a situation that was outside of their control, to observe their surrounding. Stop, think, and then try to get out of that situation without letting on as much as possible.
That they're afraid.
That, you know, that they're afraid because a lot of times you don't think logically, you know, or rationally when you're panicking, you know, but tell them to think, tell them to observe everything. Every small little detail. Okay? Listen, you know, if you're blindfolded or something like that, utilize your active listening skills. See if you can identify water, a bridge, certain sounds that might trigger. Listen to the voices that are being taught. Pick up little cues. If you go somewhere, pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to the people, you know, that have taken you, so that you'll have a clear way of trying to get yourself out of that situation. Okay, that little black girl that got abducted in Philadelphia that was 7 years old, and she was, I think they kept her for like 48 hours. That little girl found a way to get up out that house.
That's right.
Okay, she and ran home. Okay, ran home. Whereas they had that Amber Alert with that white little girl that was around the corner for she was only miles down the street from her house, and she was there for weeks. And they're weeks, just scared. But our kids are resilient now, but you got to teach them.
That's the key word, teaching. Not being apathetic, but empathetic, and knowing that this society in this day and age is designed to eat you alive. So you have to do what you have to do to make sure that your children are prepared when you leave here. Because that's one of the only things that is certain. And that is you leaving here to ascend to the next plane. The question is, have you made sure that your affairs are in order for the benefit of your children and your grandchildren? And a lot of times, and that's another apathetic issue. I mean, that might be going into left field here, but you can't rely on GoFundMe to take care of your final affairs.
Ouch.
You have to be proactive. Not reactive, as you just said. You know, you have to be proactive in a lot of areas of your life so that your children can go on should you leave here unexpectedly.
North Carolina, turn up. What you got?
All right, yeah. Turn up. All I do is turn up. Okay.
What the song?
It was something. What was it? It was Crank Lucas from YouTube or something like that.
All I do is
turn up, fish.
Turn up, collard greens.
Oh, God, boy. That was hilarious. All right, yeah. When you get the time, look up Crank Lucas on YouTube. You'll see what we're talking about.
He's hilarious.
I like that guy. All right, so further down this unfortunate rabbit hole, okay, this was recently in Durham, okay? This article was posted on the 9th of November. 3 teens charged in a shooting at a Durham McDonald's.
I bet you I know where, too.
Probably. It says 3 teenagers have been charged, excuse me, with shooting an employee outside of Durham McDonald's on Halloween. An 18-year-old employee was taken to a local hospital following the October 31st shooting at the McDonald's at 3844 South Roxborough Street. We know where that is.
Yeah, we do know where that is.
Ishmael McFarland, 16. Darren McLean, 16.
16.
Isaiah Hargo, 16.
16.
All of Durham have been charged with attempted first-degree murder, felony conspiracy, possession of a handgun by a minor, malicious assault in secret, assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, and discharging a firearm within city limits. Authorities do not believe the shooting was a random incident. Let me stop there for a second. Now I'm going to read, because I've never heard of these types of crimes. Okay, I've heard of first-degree murder, second-degree murder, felonies, larcenies, misdemeanors, but I'm listening to what this is saying.
Okay.
And it says malicious assault in secret. Have you ever heard of that? I don't know.
What is that?
I don't know. It's the first time I heard it. Possession of a handgun by a minor. Okay, I understand that. Assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill and discharging a firearm in city limits. Okay, I heard of those. But malicious assault
in secret. So are they saying that they grabbed him and beat him up first? Took him behind someplace?
Did they assault him privately and get caught? I don't get it, because if it was in secret, how did you find out?
Maybe the kid said something.
If it's a secret, you wouldn't have known it was a malicious assault, so it's not really a secret. It's just.
Well, did the kid survive?
Okay, hold on. Let me go. Let's see. McFarland was arrested Thursday afternoon, and Hargo was arrested following Wednesday evening, but police are still searching for McLean. McLean probably left the jurisdiction.
The one that was shot, did they tell you if they said he was transported to the hospital? What is his condition?
They didn't provide any more information. They didn't say he died, so I guess it wasn't a life-threatening issue, because apparently, these 3, even though they have handguns, are not trained to discharge a firearm, so they probably held it to the side or did something stupid where you don't know how to hold a gun steady. So luckily for him, because of their ignorance of how to discharge a firearm, he was not dead.
Yeah, they probably were shooting all over the place. It could have been a couple of innocent bystanders, though. Thank God that it wasn't.
Correct.
16 years old. Where's Dad?
Mm-hmm. Where's Dad? Where's Mom? Where's family? Where's the village?
All right, I'm going to put this out there, and it's about to make a lot of women mad right now. It's about to make a lot of women mad right now. Some of y'all women are messing up your own family units because you are pissed off that the father doesn't want you anymore.
Uh-oh.
Okay? Whatever went on in your relationship, okay, that causes animosity. It could be an amicable breakup. Maybe y'all were going in 2 different directions. Maybe he even cheated on you. Maybe he just didn't want you. Whatever situation that you have found yourself in where now you and your baby father or your ex-husband is no longer together, you do not, unless that man is a threat to your child, do not keep them from their fathers.
I want to say that again.
Don't push the fathers out of the lives of the children. It is hurting us. Mm-hmm. It is hurting us. And these 2, I guarantee you, I don't even have to know them personally, but I guarantee you that these 3 16-year-old boys don't have that father in the house. Stop looking at these men as a meal ticket through the child support system.
Uh-oh.
Stop looking at these men as a meal ticket through the child support system. If that man is willing to be in their child's life, let them.
Let them.
Get over your hurt. Get over your anger. Get over your fear, rejection, whatever it is that you're going through. If he's moved on with another woman, let him move on. You move on. You move on, but don't keep pushing these men out of their children's lives because you're hurt.
Preach.
Because the only thing you're doing is hurting these kids.
That's right.
Okay, and those 16-year-old boys, I know for a fact. I already feel it. I already feel it because they wouldn't be running around in the street with guns.
Man, oh man, say that again.
What are you doing? They would not. I'm just saying.
That deserves
they
a
would
praise
not
right
be running. Oh my God, love.
Okay, I'm sorry. Whew. That was nothing but the truth. That just kind of stirred up my spirit a little bit. Whew, Lord Jesus. Lord dear Jesus.
We're gonna move away. Let's right out of it. But what I'm saying is true, and we know it. And I mean, my ex and I, we went our separate ways, but there was one thing that I never did, and that was take my son away from him, split custody, joint custody, whatever it was, that was necessary to try to make a human being whole, and feel protected. But some of us, we don't think like that because we're selfish. We're selfish, and it's all about us and how you make me feel, and I'm hurt, and I've heard these a million times. Well, you don't want me to I'm taking me and my child, and we're going somewhere. You'll never see us again. How dare you?
How dare you? And how unfortunately, and that kind of hits home, and and I apologize. Don't mind my answers. I kind of put that in there to break up the monotony because again, we do have some listeners that, regardless of you saying don't get offended, will get offended. So sometimes you just got to kind of cut through the tension a little bit. But unfortunately, that is a situation that it feels like I'm faced with. Again, I can only speak from my experience. That's what it often feels like because I can only talk to my children every 2 weeks.
See?
I can only, when
except for when the money ain't there.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I'm only contacted when the money doesn't hit the card. I can't get pictures. And I'm being transparent with you guys because I love you guys. I love our listeners, and I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of men that are going through that too. And it feels like I could be wrong, but from my perspective, it feels like my children have been taken away from me, and they're being used to continue to get money and be manipulated. But
yeah, not the only one. We need to be the women with influences, the strong black women, help these men out. Be advocate for these fathers. Do not join and participate in the ratchet society of 2018
because it's killing us. It's killing us. It is killing us. It is killing us. It is, and it plays right into what you're saying with apathy. I don't care. He hurt me, so I'm gonna hurt him. I don't care.
Right.
And then even worse, you just like your daddy.
Oh yeah.
You acting just like your daddy.
And the child hears this now. The child hears this. And, planting the seeds, even in my situation when I was growing up, this is the one thing that I did appreciate about the wisdom of my mother. My mother, and my father were both teenagers, when they got pregnant with me, 16 and 17 years old. And they were both babies trying to raise me, and I was a handful. It wasn't easy to raise, but when I started getting older and they was, going their separate ways and stuff like that, my mother would never say anything bad about my father. And if they were arguing and I would say, what mom, what's going on? What she would say? You'll find out on your own later. When you grow up and start to understand these things. You know, she never included my child mind in an adult situation. Okay? Only thing that I was supposed to know, you know, growing up was that, you know, mommy and daddy is no longer together, but we both love you.
Okay. All right. Here we have a comment in here from Brother Hakeem.
Okay.
He says, I cheated on my baby mother. She took my kids away and she won't speak to me. It's been 8 years.
See?
8 years. What should I do? I've been writing her on Facebook. She won't write me back or nothing. I don't know where she is located. Located at. When I write her on Facebook, they block me. Someone please help. My daughter and son is my world. Yes, I cheated, but I always provide for my kids and her. I guess I hurt her by this so bad that I need some advice. What should I do? Brother Hakeem, the best thing for me to suggest is the desire and the hunger that you have to be with your children. You know, use that constructively to find them, and continue to fight diligently for them. If her whole family has you on block, then you're gonna have to use the judicial system to find them.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially if you are put on child support, or especially if there's some way that they tried to get you, you need to fight for your children. If you are a good father, go get them. Especially if you know that they might not be in an ideal situation. Make sure that you are also in good standing where you can provide for them better than their mom can. Okay? You have to be able to make sure that you're in a position where, should this go to the judicial branch, you have to be able to provide all the information needed to gain custody. Let's see.
And it's not going to be easy, because the judicial system has it set up that you literally have to prove that this woman is unfit. Before they'll be willing to give these kids over to you. And not only that, but most time family law retainers for a man to even get a lawyer to fight them are $1,500 and up.
I know when I did mine, it was a $5,000 retainer. And that's where it goes back to everything is commercial. Okay, they say, oh, if you can't afford it, here, go do a loan. Use a loan.
And
to put you in more debt.
That's right.
Okay, well, then he also says, I found out that she has a new man. Should I reach out to him? And I'm not on child support. Yes, reach out to him, because you know what? You need to prove. You're also proving that you love your children. Okay, talk to him. Man to man. Hopefully he's not okay, I'm gonna go there. Hopefully he's not a simp. Okay, and she didn't romanticize the whole reason why you guys broke up. But hopefully you two can reason as men, and you can express to him, you know, that what you did was wrong to her, but that you're also glad that she found someone that could treat her right. But what also needs to be amended is the relationship with your children that you have not seen for 8 years.
That's right.
So hopefully, yes, reach out to him. Hopefully he is an upright, respectable, and righteous man, that he will hear your perspective without bias. Hopefully he's not a simp. I can't say that enough, because unfortunately a lot of good men die at the hand of simps. Okay? Hopefully you two as men can reason together, and he can go back and talk to your ex, his woman, about the situation, and hopefully reach her in a way that no one has been able to do, and you two can come to an agreement and talk, get it all out on the table. She can grieve however she feels, you know, whatever she did to you, whatever you did to her 8 years ago. Get all this emotion out for the benefit of your children.
I think at this moment, she's just more operating out of bitterness than anything else. Because if she has already moved on and has a man in her life, then the only thing that she's doing, which the way she's operating now, is just designed to hurt him.
Correct.
It's like slapping in the face. It's like, I don't need you in my life, okay? Because I got me a good man now, and he's going to take care of us.
And he's going to be a better man than you were.
That type of mentality. The funny part about it is it rarely works out that way. Because a lot of times men go in a relationship, they go in the relationship because they really want the mother. Mm-hmm. And the reality of raising somebody else's kids for 18 years sometimes don't sit well. And it don't last as long. Mm-hmm. It don't last. I mean, considering how he even got into this relationship,
That's correct.
In the first place, maybe he was sexually attracted to her. Maybe he liked what she put out, this, that, and the third. It's like, okay, I got 3 kids or however, and I'm cool with that, for right now.
Okay.
But all of this other stuff, we'll see what goes on, because nobody's ever going to love the children like the father. Okay, we know that.
He says, thank you to you so much. I will write him tonight. My lady was thinking about writing her on Facebook just to reach out since I'm blocked. Yes, she's hurting me by doing this. I can't lie. All right, now, Brother Hakeem, I know it hurts. I know it hurts not to be with your children. Trust me, I know what it means, not to be able to hold them, touch them, not to be able to see smiles on their faces, not to be able to just, be around them and be in their presence, so that you are letting them know verbally and non-verbally that you're there and you exist. Let's, truth be told, putting it out there again, it's very difficult, to deal with that. So go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry, Brother Hakeem. I want to say that you go ahead and reach out to the man. Your woman.
Yes. I was
reaching out to your ex is not the best move.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, because women, we're a little bit possessive. We don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Especially if this was the woman that interfered in that relationship, or she thinks has anything to do, with her cheating, that she's going to get very possessive on you, and it might cause more harm than good. You're better off dealing with it yourself with the man than making your new girlfriend contact your ex-girlfriend. That can get ugly.
And don't just write him, meet him face to face.
If you can.
If possible, if diplomatic and amicable, sit down, have a meal, okay? Not just talk, like actually have these conversations over something that will allow you guys to talk on a level in which now your body is fed, your soul is fed, and you can actually talk on a level where it's not so tense. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times men will just talk and just talk and just talk. No, sit down, have a coffee. Mm-hmm. Sit down at a table where you guys can really reach each other as men. Because now he's a stepfather, okay? And,
whether he wants to be
or
not.
Whether he wants to admit it or not, he's a stepdad, okay? And you being their father, you two now have to work together as men to be positive male role models in the lives of your children.
Got it.
Okay. So Winter also said, don't allow your woman to reach out.
No.
Try to find her family. Okay. Well, no. You're terrible. But yeah, so that's what we can advise to you right now, Brother Hakeem. And I would also say, yes, it does hurt, but take your power back. Okay. Don't give her the power to inflict harm upon you via your children. Part of that is that part of you is going to have to shut down a little bit so that you can now start to make moves for the benefit of your children. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to kind of close that out a little bit so that now you can operate in your logic and in your reasoning with the man that is now in the life of your ex and your children.
There you go. Wonderful advice, beloved. Yeah, it looks like his lady agreed with him. Tina, yep. I agree with Trina as well, to try to reach the family. Mm-hmm. The grandmother, grandfather, something like that. Unless you got, and I hate to say it, unless you have one of those baby mothers that learned everything bad from her mom. Mm-hmm. and she's one of those mothers where, like, you hurt my baby. type of thing, and you can't penetrate that because you might. I mean, I don't know what you were dealing with. You know, I don't know what type of mentality you were dealing with. Sometimes you can appeal to the mother at the sense of a grandchild. You know what I mean? And sometimes you have the mothers that train the daughters to act exactly the way that they're acting, and might just, you know, go off on you.
Now, here's also, and it's good, and I'm glad you're also utilizing the help and assistance of your lady, because you do need that feminine balance too, because perhaps she can also tap into what your ex might be feeling in certain aspects, so that you know how to navigate through it. It might not be completely accurate. Okay, well, my beloved is shaking her head. No,
not yet. No,
okay,
well, not yet. The first initial contact should not be
no.
girlfriend.
I'm not saying active, but what I'm saying is the feelings, or what you know, in private conversation between them two, not with anyone else. You know, him and his new lady. Okay, from a woman's perspective, how do I approach this?
Yeah. Okay.
That's kind of what I was emphasizing. Sorry. Yeah. So let's see. Her mother's cool. She just has a big mouth, and if she spoke to me, it will be like hell no. Okay. Well,
then she ain't cool.
Then she's not really.
How do you say that she's cool and then tell you hell no?
Okay. So then you're gonna have to find a way, and this is, you know, you're gonna have to navigate around that wisely. So now this is where you're gonna have to seek some counsel of you know, people, of how to approach this wisely. And again, first and foremost, the person that is immediately connected to your ex is her man. Okay?
Yeah, you could go to him.
You know, prayerfully, you two have a bond, which is probably what she won't want.
Oh, no.
But
she wants you to hate. She wants y'all to hate each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So then I think that's probably the first approach, and then go from there. So hopefully we've helped with that. But I mean, again, this all comes full circle, because Lord knows, you know, where the positive role model is in these three young men's life.
Lisa said, I think if the lady can bring her man, then he should bring his lady. They're not supposed to be bringing anybody. Okay, the meeting between the two men is supposed to be the meeting between the two men. Mm-hmm. That's what we're trying to get out. Those two need to talk. You don't want to go. You don't want to enter into, you know, a situation like that, and you have these outsiders that are only taking pointers from the person that they're with. It becomes a biased point of view, because he's only listening to what his lady is telling him, and he naturally is going to be protective of his woman. And likewise, Mr. Hakeem's lady is listening to his perspective, you know. So I believe the two men need to talk and leave the ladies out for right now, you know, and
let things grow from there later on. Yep.
Okay, go ahead last so we can wind it up.
Well, that was pretty much the last one. I think the other ones are repetitive. Read this one. Hold on, let's see here. Okay. Well, yep. Okay. Here's one of the other ones. This was.
Wait a minute. Hold on, because this was interesting. Hold on.
Okay.
Hakeem said, "You know, she is going to want to come." I was saying my baby mom was going to say hello. My lady is natural about the situation. She may want to come, but see, this is what I'm talking about. Why can't you deal with him without him running and telling his woman everything?
That's correct. So now again, we're talking about the difference between being a man and being a simp.
Right.
So now, this is where you're going to have to use tact in your language as you're writing to her, like writing to him and saying, listen, you know, I know you care about this woman, about her. I know you love her very much, but this is now dealing with our children.
Right.
Okay. Let's put this aside and address that later. I want to be able to talk to and interact with and see my children. So you and I as men have to come together as father and stepfather to find a way to make amends so that our children can learn from all of us. Having her hand or if her desire is to be by her man's side is another means of control, then she should not be there at all, period. Not at this standpoint.
No.
You two as men have to talk, because what will happen is, if she is there, she will use him as a puppet, and she will try to, forgive me if this is an assumption, but she will try to push on his emotions to make him defensive and try to be a knight in shining armor, and it all goes downhill from there. Whereas you two as men can reason and can come together in logic and say, this is what we can lay out, this is what we can plan. And then he, as a man, goes back to your ex and says, we talked as men. He is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He's not what you told me to be, told me he was, and this is what's going to happen.
There you go. You're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, that's, hopefully it can go that way, because you're right, beloved. You know, some of us, everybody doesn't understand how to be diplomatic, and, you know, bringing the lady around that's already emotionally fragile right now, or already having bitterness to you, you know, could escalate a situation that didn't need to be escalated, you know, in the first place. So,
because, I mean, listen, let's just be honest here. It's an infidelity. I mean, you stepped out on her. Okay.
You broke her trust.
You broke her trust. Okay. The children should not be a bargaining chip or tool to inflict pain. Okay?
Right.
And I think that is the biggest issue that needs to be addressed here. The children should not be involved, period.
No.
Okay? So, not a problem, brother. We're glad that we can help and assist you, but again, make sure that diplomacy is involved in between you two as men first, and then let him go back and deal with her. I'm pretty sure if you have been in a relationship with her, you know how she reacts to certain things. So use that and be cunning in what you say. Be wise and tactful in what you say, so that you two can start mending things first. You two as men, okay? And then start bringing, you know, her into the picture, and then your beloved into the picture,
right? And
then the children into the picture, because again, the key focus is not even the four of you. The key focus is the children.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, all right, we got the last story for the night, and then we gonna, you know, roll out.
Yeah, we're gonna try to wrap this up. Let's see. All right.
What you got?
Last one. It says, wow. This is posted on the 8th. A Durham man was arrested for sexually assaulting and threatening to kill a woman in 2005.
Why is that just now news now?
I'm not sure why. Interesting. A Durham man was arrested Wednesday. Oh, okay. Well, they just found him. Okay, so apparently
they've been on a manhunt for over 10 years.
Right, yeah, exactly. They just found him. So it says a Durham man was arrested Wednesday in connection with a 2005 sexual assault. Authorities say that Marco Antoine Parker broke into a woman's home at about 4 a.m. on February 9, 2005. The woman told police that she woke up and saw a naked man with a towel over his face standing over her. The man, later identified as Parker, put an object against her head and threatened to kill her before sexually assaulting her, the police said. Parker was charged last year with attempted first-degree rape, first-degree sexual offense, attempted first-degree sexual offense, and first-degree burglary and first-degree kidnapping. Parker, at age 40, was arrested Wednesday morning in Hillsborough and is being held in Durham County Jail under $1.6 million bond.
Let me ask the men out here in this audience: is it really that serious? I mean, is our society that hard up that we have to take something from somebody else? Are you sitting around, you know, admiring the beauty of somebody and just decide that, you know, I'm going to take it because I like the way that it looks?
Right. That makes no sense. I mean,
what is happening here?
I don't know. Let me be.
There's Backpage.
Listen. I was gonna say, push come to shove. If you are that hot, you know, just pay for it.
There you go.
I mean, we don't want to condone this.
We're not advocating
on a recreational basis, but if you are that desperate and that backed up, you know, if you can't take care of it yourself and you need some companionship, pay for it. Pay for it. You know, go to
And sometimes you don't even have to pay for it. There's always somebody willing.
Always somebody.
There's somebody that's willing.
Step your game up. Something. Just say, hey, go for a little one nighter. Get it all out the way.
Go to the club
and then
get somebody drunk.
Get your game on, and then.
I mean,
but
Jesus.
Stuff like this, but the actions of this man. He put a towel over his face, naked. What kind of lunacy is that?
I don't know. But this is a Durham, North Carolina. Durham, North Carolina.
And he thought he could get away with it.
A towel over his face and wanted to sexually assault. So I would have to say,
they probably knew each other.
Yeah, of course.
This doesn't make sense how all of a sudden, 12 years later, he's caught. They probably finally figured out where this person was because she knew who he was, and they were able to trace whatever back to him, and he was finally busted because there's holes in this article that kind of leaves things to speculation.
Well, it's about the power.
Correct.
It's about the power. So, with certain situations that I have heard it said, there might be an object of a guy's affection, okay? And that woman is teasing or playing hard to get or pissing him off or rejecting him, in some kind of way that now, the power, he feels like the power has been taken from him and he wants to get it back and teach her a lesson. He wants to teach her a lesson. Some men can't handle rejection.
And it's okay to be rejected. And again, that is a new age thing as well. I can't just say new age, but that is an apathetic, a new generation. But it also deals with apathy as well, where you just don't care what somebody else thinks. You want something, you're gonna get it. But you have to be. It's okay to deal with rejection because your next no gets you closer to your first yes.
I mean, really.
Somebody will give you some cookie, but.
And you ain't meant for everybody,
right?
And everybody's not meant for you. So if somebody doesn't, if you're not somebody's cup of tea, move on, get coffee.
Right.
It's really that simple. But some people can't handle it. Some people can't handle rejection. Some people, I'm gonna teach her a lesson. Or she thinks she's this. She thinks she's that. Well, I'm a breaker. Stuff like that. I've heard said. So I know goes through some people's minds. And women, don't be afraid of rejection either. So you ain't got to match up to society standards of beauty. You're all beautiful. Every woman is beautiful in her own way. You don't have to look like somebody. You don't have to act like somebody. You don't have to have the flyest thing. You got what men want already. You already got it.
All you have to do is just
you already got it. It's natural.
You just step out there. Step out there and dress up. No, you don't even have to dress up nice.
No.
Listen. You can walk outside
around bouncing.
You can walk bouncing. You can have a Jiffy Pop bag on your head. And
somebody
is going to. Hey, looking kind of nice there. And it's the same thing with the guys. Listen, you just have to have confidence in what you do and confidence with your features. You got confidence with your features. Somebody is going to want to touch that.
There you go.
And I guess that's kind of how we need to end it on a more positive, whimsical note.
It'll be fine.
But it's safe to say that in this apathetic world, we have to counterbalance that with empathy. Okay, we have to be more sensitive to the needs and the emotions of people.
Yes,
not so much where we give our energy totally to those people, but to an extent where we're able to teach them, to teach the youth, to teach our counterparts, to teach our family how to deal with the societal ills.
Yeah, and a lot of them.
And how to counteract injustices with righteousness.
That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
And that's our favorite word. Malevolence, we got to counteract that with benevolence. We got to give, we have to love, and we have to live our lives, like we desire to, without being in fear of what society wants us to exist in. And that, again, is fear. We're not supposed to live in fear. We're supposed to live in abundance and brilliance, you know? And that goes back to empathy. If there's something that you desire to do, go for it and take people along the ride.
That's
okay?
right.
Take children along. Take your family along. The people that deserve to be in your lives, bring them along.
There you go. There you go. And when we say righteousness, we're not talking about some type of religious term. We're talking about morals and ethics. Okay? A universal law on how to govern yourself.
That is correct.
Okay? Go ahead, beloved.
That is correct. So now, once again, you know, we're playing our song. We're going to go ahead and sign off here. You know, once again, I am your co-host, Yair L. the Agreeable.
And I am the hostess, Navia, the Disagreeable.
Playing up for your listening pleasure is Mr. Lex Coke. Thank you all.
Oh, here it comes. It's not coming.
It is. I have to just unmute it.
Did you stop the broadcasting? Recipe book.